We want to try and take a slightly different tack today. I think there's one issue, there's one thing about sort of implementing a program. There's another thing about trying to really try to generate and transform a school in terms of sort of sustainable progress over time. And I think the leadership skills underpinning that are ones which are actually quite complex and quite sophisticated. And it's that sort of area of focus that I'd like us to sort of be concentrating on today, and to hopefully start a sort of a new strand of work over the next number of months. I had a big birthday 3 weeks ago, which had the numbers 0 and 6 attached to them. At the same time, I was kicked out of the university, so I'm now a sort of a free agent, traveling around the world, dispensing gratuitous acts of kindness. And I think that may mean that I spend a little bit more time here. And if I do, I hope that we can actually sort of work together a little bit more frequently than we've been able to over the last couple of years, in order to sort of develop this sort of strand of work. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say something personally about the tragedies that you've been facing over the last month or two. We have really sort of kept up with this on our travels, and our thoughts have been with you a great deal about in terms of the fires that you've been dealing with, and the really intimate, personal, as well as sort of community tragedies that you've been facing. And just wanted to say that a friend of mine was killed in the fires just recently, and so I share a little bit of that with you. And I know that today is quite a difficult day as well, and I'm just pleased to see so many of you here, despite that. One of the hidden agenda items for today, as I was intimating a moment ago, is to see whether we can begin to establish a sort of a new way of working. I think part of the challenge of programs like this is that we have a sort of a literacy project, we have a numeracy project, we try and behavior project, we try and implement them inside our schools. But I think leadership is a bit more than that. It's about how we actually pull all of these together, how we get all the moving parts sort of working together in a synchronous way inside our schools. And it seems to me that is the real sort of key leadership challenge that we face here in schools in Victoria, as well as schools around the world. And a lot of our training programs don't actually sort of address that as a real issue. We tend to be more into implementation mode than transformational mode. And I've been talking with Wayne about this over the last couple of days, and I think, Wayne, we want to try and see if we can actually begin to sort of build a strand of work which is sort of focused a lot more on how the leadership skills required for sort of sustainable school transformation. One of my chums, who does some of the best work in this field anywhere in the world, is a man and a friend of yours, a man called Richard Elmore, Dick Elmore. And I was working with him at the back end of last year, and I've been quite struck by the use, and it was an idea I've been having for some time, but Dick has taken it on and used it more deeply than I have. His concept of what he calls the medical rounds model. I taught at Cambridge University for almost a dozen years, and one of the great things about Cambridge, particularly in the medical faculty, was that the Regius Professor of Medicine every week would lead a grand round. And what he meant by that was that this great professor, distinguished, wise person, would tour around the hospital with everyone sort of following behind, and actually engage in diagnosis of patients, in real life situations. And sadly, professors of education don't often do that. They stick in their sort of ivory towers and write books which nobody can understand. And I'm trying to sort of get now I've left the university, I can now sort of work, I hope, in a more authentic way. And what Richard has done is to develop the notion of of a medical round in terms of his staff development with principals and superintendents in various parts of the states, where we actually sort of work together as a group. We visit each other's schools, and we engage in description and diagnosis and support for each other as we sort of deal with these issues of transformation.